Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mac and Jack Sports Show, our Friday edition, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, on Mac Sports and the Northeast Streaming Sports Facebook pages. Please like, follow, and share our Facebook pages. Subscribe to the Northeast Streaming Sports YouTube channel for all the great Northeast Streaming Sports show. We're also on Instagram and Twitter. Our website is nessp.info for all information on shows, guests, sports stores, and links to those stores. I'm Mac with your co-host, Jack Hirsch, legendary boxing writer and former president of the Boxing Writers Association of America, bringing you national sports with special focus on Northeast professional sports from New York, Boston, and Philly. And guest right off the rip, we got one of my favorites, the Philly sports guy, Pags, here with us. How you doing, guys, this morning?
Real well. We were talking backstage, Max, so don't make it out like we're just coming on and saying hello this moment. I mean, come on. I know it's show business, but you know we're doing well. I mean,
so much for not a lot of talking to start off.
Pax isn't doing that well considering how the Philly teams are coming along. So
he just wanted to get that dig in you right off the.
That's exactly. Yeah, he's all upset because we couldn't help him with the Rays. You know, the Rays are still well in front, and even though the Yankees are on this tear right now, they'll fall back to earth, I'm sure.
Yeah, hopefully it's after the World Series. But anyway, the thing is, folks, today we have Pags first. He's agreed to kind of reshuffle his schedule to join us since we went to a 4-day format. And we have Byron Williams, who will be coming in as our NFL analyst, of course, former star wide receiver for the Giants. And then after that, Keith Angle from TGI Sports Talk, who will be talking about the Yankees and the Pats and maybe a little college football. So we got a busy show today, folks. And, you know, guys, it's the last week of preseason, right? And I guess this is where they're going to make their last cuts before the season starts. Some of the starters are going to get more action than they've been in the last two games. So how much are you putting into this third week of preseason, Jack and Pags? I mean, is this the last hurrah for the rookies? Is that the most important thing? Or is this more for the veterans to get a little more timing down before the first game? What do you think?
Oh, guys, I've watched more preseason this year than I have in a lot of years. And I've basically come to the conclusion preseason's all about your second and third team. I mean, the starters are pretty much etched in stone for the most part. And we hear about these quarterback battles, but I think the coaches, for the most part, they have a plan. They know exactly what they want to do, what they have to do. And it's basically, you know, keep your starters healthy for, you know, the regular season. So they limit the amount they play. They let the other guys battle for jobs who has more potential. It's pretty important because we're talking about the NFL where guys are getting injured all the time. But it's kind of fascinating to see some of these, you know, matchups that are taking place, some of these players that are merging. So, but that's what preseason's all about. You know, your second, your third team, you're filling out your roster behind your starters.
Pags, what do you think? Do you think, for instance, right, we got a lot of new quarterbacks out there. A lot of teams are rebuilding, the Eagles being one of them. Hurst has this last game. I mean, you guys pretty much got trounced by the Patriots 35-0, albeit preseason. You want to see something out of your team, right? You want to see them make drives on the field, make some stops. Do you think this is where the Eagles either play Hurst a lot or they kind of pull him back?
I don't think they play him at all. That just like they didn't play him the last game, and he's only had maybe 1 or 2 drives at all. It's very odd. Nick Sirianni has put in a lot more emphasis on the combined practices rather than the game time experience. And, we're talking about practice, to quote Allen Iverson, in comparison to a game. Not a game, we're talking about practice that he's putting the emphasis on. And I'm interested to see how that really plays out because I believe that he's only using these preseason games to find out who he wants to keep on the 53 and then add the extra 15 for the, I think he's going to put a lot of rookies on that 15-man practice squad. So, but it just seems that he has not really put a lot of weight or emphasis on the preseason at all in comparison to every other team. Like, it just seems like it's a new way of thinking about how to do preseason.
I agree that you have to find out what you have as far as secondary players. If it wasn't for preseason, as I've said in the past, there would have been no Victor Cruz. There would have been a number of Hall of Famers that have become Hall of Famers because they got their starts in preseason, right? And they were not even drafted, or they had tryouts. But don't you think? And a lot of people say, well, the first 4 games of the season, they're still getting together. And, it's still an extension of preseason. But if you go 0-4 and 1-3 in some of these division races, you might be out of it by the end of the year. I know Parcells. I know that there are some coaches that want to win every preseason game because they just want that winning. They want that winning feeling in there. And especially a young coach like you have with the Jets, Jack. I mean, you have won at least one. You guys did beat the Giants 12-7, albeit again preseason. But I think it's important, especially for rebuilding teams like the Eagles, like the Jaguars, like the Jets, to get that culture changed. And there's no better to start off than a preseason and getting some wins under your belt. Don't you think, Jack?
I disagree completely. Look, the Detroit Lions were 4-0 in preseason, unbeaten, and then went 0-16 in the regular season. So, that should put it in perspective. You mentioned Robert Saleh, the Jet head coach. He's a rah-rah type of guy, like a Pete Carroll type of guy. He brings this tremendous enthusiasm. And sometimes the GM has to hold back a young coach, okay? Let him know what these games are about. And the bottom line is wins, losses, they really mean nothing in the preseason. It's kind of like, if you compare it to boxing, the sparring sessions. Who cares whether you get the better the sparring sessions? It's what you do on the night of the actual fight. And when the opening bell rings, for the NFL season, that's the time you really have to be ready. Everything is geared towards that, peaking towards that. You want to avoid injuries like the Jets had, the big one with Carl Lawson, their edge rusher, the guy that they were really counting heavily on. Now he's out. But I'm going to tell you this, law of averages is every NFL team is going to suffer some bad injuries, and it's going to even out in the long run, unless it's a franchise quarterback. That's the biggest hit of all.
How about you, Pags? I kind of disagree with Jack to a point. Of course, you got to know what you got, and preseason doesn't kind of go into a regular season as far as whether it counts or not. But me being a former coach, I know even when I had scrimmages, I wanted the kids to feel good when they came off the field, whether it meant winning or almost winning. If they got killed in scrimmages, if they got blown away in scrimmages, no matter what the coach says, it's not regular season. There's still a feeling when them players come off the field saying they got whooped. And I don't care if it's a kid or a man, even in a sparring, Jack. If you get whooped in a sparring with somebody, if somebody that you're sparring with actually beats you in that sparring session, and you know whether they did or not, that's got to hurt your confidence a little bit. Don't you think, Pags?
Yes and no. I think it's a little different when you're talking about dealing with kids in comparison to dealing with somebody who actually gets paid to play. And specifically, I understand that winning begets winning. and that's kind of what your mantra, what you're kind of talking about there. But I feel that, so like, for instance, they got trounced by New England 35-0, and not really any starters played. So does that mean that all the second, third, and fourth teamers who got trounced by the Steelers the week before, when the first teamers actually did pretty well against the Steelers' first team, but then the second, third, and fourth teamers didn't do so well against the Steelers, and then we put them right out there? I mean, Joe Flacco is a shell of himself anymore. I expect that the only real worth that he has is tutoring Hurts. You know what I mean? That's really where his worth is, because if we wind up having to put him in, well, our season's long gone then at that point. So I mean, let's hope that Hurts really is able to play this entire season without getting hurt. That being said, I don't put as much in there because our first teamers aren't in there. They're not feeling the beating up. They're trying to coach up the younger guys, the second and third and fourth teamers. So is that more a reflection on the depth that we may have on our team in comparison to what our team is really all about? Plus, I kind of think that this is, there's a piece of me that feels like he's holding with the media narrative that he wants to sneak up on teams. That I don't think that the Eagles are as bad as a 35-0 trouncing by the Patriots.
Right,
and I feel that in the process of that, he's got a mental thought process that says, we're going to be able for the first couple of weeks to sneak up on somebody. And then after the first couple of weeks, they're going to have enough tape on us that we're not going to be able to sneak up anymore. So for the Dallas game, which is in 3 weeks, week 3 on a Monday Night Football, and I expect that that's where his 3-week plan is going to culminate. That the first week we're going to surprise Atlanta because they haven't shown nothing. Again, you go against San Francisco, they're going to come across. They got to play at 1:00 in the afternoon, which is really 10:00 their time. So it's a really early game for them. And then you have Monday Night Football against Dallas. So the first 3 weeks of the season are really winnable games if you have a team that is cohesive. I don't know that they're going to be so cohesive because they haven't played in preseason. So we're going to need the defense to really hold serve here a little bit to be able to make that work. But my expectation is that he's playing a little bit to the media, saying, "Hey, we stink so bad, we're going to be 4-13. Well, I'm going to show you how well we're going to be 4-13 in the preseason."
Well, part of it with Coach Sirianni is with the Eagles getting manhandled against the Patriots. That would be bad if that were the case. If you're losing 35-0, you're putting in new guys in and out, you're experimenting new schemes. I mean, that's fine. That's what the preseason's about. But are you getting physically manhandled? That would be a concern if that happened, because a team's confidence would take a hit if that were the case.
Well, and let me give you an example. All right, Saquon Barkley just came off the injured reserve list for the Giants. They put him in a red shirt, so they didn't hit him. He was visibly upset because he said, "This is not football. I feel like a kid when I'm out there. I'm glad I got reps." So the nature of football, guys, and whether you're a kid or adult, the feeling you get by playing this game, it's hard to describe. And when they play, we talk about money. Of course, the owners invest, the GMs want to protect. But I'm talking about the guys themselves. I'm talking about the team itself. I don't care if the defense has 50 points scored on them and you score 49 as an offense. The defense, you feel bad for your team. It's a team thing. And I still think that when you compete, I don't care if it's second stringers against second stringers or if it's preseason, you want to leave that field feeling good as a team. And if you don't, that can permeate. The Jaguars are starting to, the rumbles are coming from the Jaguars already about their coach. And I'll get into that later with Byron. But, I still believe football has a lot to do with mental, a lot more mental than physical. And I really believe you've at least got to show up during preseason. And I think you got to win a couple games, or at least one game, and have a good game where you can hang your hat on. Because it's not just about the players, guys. It's about the coaching strategy. It's about the coaching philosophy. It's about their system. There's a lot of things going on besides just those players. And let me tell you, if the players see the strategy or the system isn't working, that's gonna say something to them when it comes.
I don't know if I'm 100% correct with this, but I do believe that before the Patriots went 16-0, they went 0-4 in the preseason.
That could be, and I don't think that's right, but that could be. But also, when the Giants won the Super Bowl, they went 4-0. So I can throw other examples at you too.
You know what that just tells us is that preseason doesn't mean much.
Well, I don't know what I mean. So. I think winning does, and I would have to look up whether the Patriots went 0-4 when they went 16-0. I don't think that's true, but it could be. It could be. It definitely could be.
Right. It's just same way with the Detroit Lions. They went 4-0 in the preseason and then proceeded to lose all 16 games.
And again, I could probably go to Kansas City Chiefs, and when they went to the Super Bowl, maybe they went 4-0. I would have to look that up. I'm just saying that I believe that there's a lot of things going on besides just the players. And I think that to win, especially if you're a rebuilding team, guys, I really believe that everything is visible. People are looking at everything, fans, the owner, the GM, and the coaching staff, and the players. Is this system going to work? And that's what I think is even more important than whether the team, the player itself plays. Go ahead, Jack.
Mac, if preseason winning was that important, teams who were down a few points at the end of the game would send in their first unit and try to score with a couple of minutes left. They never do that. They leave in their third string team and do the best they can. I mean, it just winning, losing. You like to win as far as being a competitive person, okay? You'd rather win than lose the game, and it hurts a little bit if you lose a close game at the end. But bottom line is, everyone knows it doesn't mean anything. Baseball, exhibition games, who cares if you win or lose in the long run? Same thing with the NBA. I mean, as a competitive person, you want to win. As a fan, you'd rather see your team win. But you understand you're not having your best out there. The whole idea is you want to have your best players out there when you want to win. And in the NFL preseason, you virtually never have your best players out there at the end of the game. Even the Jets and Giants, the first time they ever played was the year after the Jets won the Super Bowl with the Joe Namath guarantee. That was played like a regular season game, even though it was an exhibition game, because the Giants were the established team. The Jets, the Super Bowl champs, was still the new kid on the block. They had to establish their identity in New York, and that was a bitterly fought game. That was played as if it was a regular season game. And by the way, the Jets won that one 37-14. But the thing is, that meant so much to the Jets, and it meant a lot to the Giants to hold them off. And after that game, during the preseason, the Giants didn't win a game, so Wellington Mara, the Giant owner, fired the head coach, Ali Sherman. But in this day and age, I'd be shocked if an owner fired a coach that went 0-4 in the exhibition season, no matter what team. I would be absolutely flabbergasted. And I'm talking about a coach that would have been on the hot seat going into this year. And even if he went 0-4 in the exhibition season, I'd be flabbergasted if he got fired before the regular season.
Well, don't misread me. I'm not saying that, it's of the utmost importance. I'm just saying a lot of people say it doesn't mean nothing. And I don't agree with that. I do think it means something in a lot of different ways, not just for new players. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying put your regulars back in at the end of the game, Jack. But I am saying it means something. Maybe not to us as fans, maybe not to the media, but to them players and them coaches, it means something. And I think winning begets winning, and I think that is important. So anyway.
Well, to be honest, I mean, just for what I have to deal with, to some of the fans, it does mean something, because if they win, they get to say, we beat you. You know what I mean? Where it's like, if you lose, you're like, it's preseason. You know,
Yes.
why do we care? You know what I
Yes.
mean? Because it doesn't mean anything. They don't get paid for these games. They get a per diem for these games. So it's a whole different world in the grand scheme of things. That all being said, it's like, okay, you know, I mean, for instance, Jalen Hurts won the starting role for quarterback without having really a snap because the other two quarterbacks stink so badly. You know what I
Yes.
mean? So it's like, okay, well, you know, they'd say it's a competition. Well, there was no competition. The other two quarterbacks are so bad that they wanted to make sure that, you know, whether it was a stomach virus or whether it was a phantom thing where they just didn't want to play him or anything like that. It, you know, was interesting that he hasn't even had a snap since, you know, week 1 of the preseason, you know, except in practice. And, you know, when he's redshirted, and he's not going to really probably play tonight either, you know, against the Jets.
We'll see what happens, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. Let's get to the Phillies real quick. I know you probably don't want to talk about them too much, but they won a tear for a while, Pags. They took over first place. Bats came alive. The pitching held its own. And now, oh my goodness. I mean, you talk about, let's see, what is it? The Braves jump out there 68-58, 8-2 in the last 10 games. The Phillies are 2-8. Is this it for them, Pags? Are they done?
Yep. Rhys Hoskins went back onto the IL, and it's possible he may be done for the season. And I feel that with him being gone initially and they started to lose, it was like, okay, I guess maybe that, you know, you didn't really think about him being the leader in the clubhouse. And then he came back. He had 2 home runs. They came alive for a minute, and then he got hurt again, and now he's back out. And I think, like, even though they tried yesterday, I mean, obviously, the Diamondbacks, it amazes me that the Phillies always play poorly against the worst competition in major leagues. I kind of expect that, you know, when we play the Orioles, who are the dreck of Major League Baseball, that we may lose to them. And it amazes me that we cannot seem to get things keep things rolling. We have the easiest schedule moving forward here. I think out of 37 games, we have 3 games left, except against the Braves, against teams that have winning records. I think we have 3 against Milwaukee, and that's it. Everything else is, you know, the Mets are not above 500 anymore. You know, it's only the Braves and Milwaukee that we have above 500. Everybody else is, we have the Orioles, we have the Pirates, we have the Diamondbacks. And we can't seem to win these games.
With Pags, Philly is a blame town. When things go wrong, someone's got to get blamed in Philly a little more than the other cities. At least that's how it seems to me. When Joe Girardi took over as manager, there was a buzz, there was excitement, there were high hopes. Is there discontent towards Joe Torre, you know, with the city of Philadelphia right now?
You mean Joe Girardi, not Torre?
Joe Girardi. Who did I say?
Yeah, you said Joe Torre. I wouldn't mind having Joe Torre right now. I wouldn't mind having Joe Torre right now.
Yeah, no, I meant Joe Girardi, obviously.
There is a little bit of blame that's going his way. Like, he's definitely going to be on the hot seat coming in next year. I don't think that he'll get fired this year. I think that he definitely will be on the hot seat next year, and he better start. I feel that, you know, and I think I've mentioned it a couple times on this show, where you're going to win 60, you're going to lose 60. It's what you do with those other 42 games that are going to matter the most. And I feel that he's lost a good amount of those 42 games, that there are certain losses that you can hang on Joe Girardi. And I find that, you know, there's a reason why they don't pay me a lot of money for baseball. You know what I mean? Because I don't have all the ins and outs that he's supposed to have and he's supposed to do. And I feel that some of the decisions that he has made have cost the Phillies in a couple of games. And when I say a couple, I'm talking like 8 to 10 games. Now, that's 25% of the 40 games we're talking about now. So it's like you have to win the other 30, and there's going to be games that you're going to lose naturally because of that too. So now if you go half and half on those other 30, now you've won 15, you've lost 25. Well, that ain't going to cut it. You know what I mean? And then you're not going to get into the playoffs, especially in a weak division. Now the Braves are hurt. They're really decimated with injuries, and yet they're still coming on strong. They got the next man up mentality. They have the 26th easiest schedule in baseball, and ultimately they're playing well. We are not, and I expect that that's how that's going to end. I mean, we were in wild card contention, even if we weren't going to win the East, and now we're just trailing off.
Yeah, falling hard.
September-itis hits us hard for some reason, and it came a little early this year.
First couple things I want to get to. I got Byron Williams backstage right now with the Eagles. Stefan
Wisniewski
announces his retirement. He was the left guard for you guys in the Super Bowl, played in Kansas City. I guess he was testing the free agency waters. It didn't work out too well for him. And Vin Curry, he's out the season because of a blood disorder.
Right, he's for the Jets. And it's interesting because, luckily they caught that. That sounded to me like that could have been a really bad situation for him. And Stephen Wisniewski, he was like a journeyman. Obviously, he had to play. He had to play in the Super Bowl because we were hurt on the offensive line, so he was definitely getting a lot of playing time there. Did play some tackle and stuff like that. Going to become a pastor, so good for him. God bless him. And I know that he had a really good career. And I'm glad that they caught Curry. It looks like that he's going to be able to get that resolved. It's going to take a year. He's not going to play this year, but he should be able to get back out on the field, start at the beginning of next year, which is good for him. I'm glad that they were able to find that. It was interesting that they caught this while they're there with the Eagles, because there's some the hot stove talk about picking up an offensive lineman and maybe a defensive end from the Eagles, and doing a trade with the Jets. Joe Douglas obviously, helped us win the Super Bowl with Howie Roseman and has kept a good relationship with the Eagles. So it's possible that we could see a trade with Dillard. It could be a bigger trade. I think that there could be a number of players that swap teams here between the Jets and the Eagles after this game tonight.
That sounds excellent, Pags.
We're going to let you get Landon Dickerson.
You're not getting Landon Dickerson, but you may get Andre Dillard. And I tell you, I think that Andre Dillard, I don't know if New York is the place for him to play either, but when you have an offensive tackle, he is a talent. I just think that in Philadelphia, it's just not jiving well with him. I think that he's going to be a guy that actually will do better with a different team, and that's going to play pretty well. I know that the same thing with Dallas Goedert. He's the tight end, and that they were trying to restructure or actually give him an extension, and that's not going real well. I also know that because that Sweat was so good this year, Barnett actually had a pretty good camp as well, but Sweat really kind of beat him out. That's the name that's coming up in this conversation with the Jets. And from what I understand, the Jets are willing to trade like a wide receiver. I don't know that a wide receiver is exactly what we need. I'd be more interested in one of the cornerbacks because I feel like that's the one position that really did get smoked against the Patriots was the cornerbacks.
Pags, we got to let you go. Byron's sitting patiently back there. Have a great day. Don't work too hard today, Pags, and I'll catch up with you as we go along during the next couple of days. So you have a great one.
Take care, Pags.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much. Tell Byron I said hello.
I definitely will. So the Philly sports guy, Pags, joins us again. Thanks for coming in, Pags. We love having you on. And now we bring up one of the weekly guests also that joins us every week. He looks like he's drinking coffee back there, waking up, rubbing his eyes, got this giant jersey on, ready to rock. Our NFL analyst. Yes. Our NFL analyst, Byron Williams, who's kind of been on a tour with Jim Jeffcoat on some of the shows here on Northeast Streaming Sports, promoting their new YouTube show, J&B Talking Shop, which will be 1 September on Northeast Streaming Sports YouTube channel only. So, folks, if you want to check out the show, that's going to have great talk, great guests. First week, Darren Woodson, All-Pro, Super Bowl winner, defensive back for Dallas Cowboys. Phil McConkey, wide receiver, Super Bowl champion for the New York Giants, will be on their first show. So join them September 1st, 8 p.m. Eastern. So, Byron, I know that NFL is almost here. I mean, people get all excited about it. And I guess COVID isn't done with us yet, right? I mean, they got this new variant. They'll probably have 20 more before this thing is over with. I don't know what they're going to do about this thing. But the games are going on. Major League Baseball is playing. NFL football is playing. There's going to be fans in the stadium. The Tennessee Titans, they get hit with 9 COVID tests positive, including their starting quarterback, Ryan Tannehill. I don't know if even the old shots even work anymore, Byron. I mean, I don't follow COVID maybe as much as I should because it's all over the place. I get tired of hearing about it. Honestly, I turn the stuff off. But do you think this is going to affect some of the teams as we go forward during the season, where they're going to have to pull players and just sub the players in?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it is affecting the teams right now. You know, each week, each day, almost you got a couple of people being pulled out of practice. They have to, be in this COVID situation, and then you really still don't know what exactly you're dealing with. But the NFL, the good thing about them, they got a lot of good expert people to help analyze everything along the way. Last year they did a great job. I think they did the best job in sports. For us making sure that the players were safe and who they was around and all that. So you probably got to go back to some of that as well. But definitely right now, coming out of the preseason, and that's the reason why you have preseason. You got to kind of analyze and the situation and make sure that the players are safe, even with the coaches as well. So you got to still kind of make sure that they're around the right people and really, 1 or 2 people is not that bad. But when you get up to, like, say 9, then you're going to have a concern and a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's an answer to that. I think they're just going to have to deal with it as they go. And, of course, the NFL rules is that if your team is the cause of COVID and they're not following the rules, you may have to forfeit that game. That's the new rule that was instituted this year. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, I know, and I think too, Atlanta Falcons, everybody on that team is vaccinated. So it's supposed to be vaccinated. So I think they have to look at maybe just talking to players about getting vaccinated and making sure. But that's one of the things that they're concerned about. I mean, they got a whole lot going on, but the NFL, they don't want to lose money, so they're gonna find a way to make things happen.
That's the truth. That's the truth, Byron. So let's go to Ron Rivera refusing to commit to Ryan Fitzpatrick as a starting quarterback. Now, I mean, I know he's got his quarterback he brought from Carolina Panthers. I got a brain freeze right now what the guy's name was. I think is it Anderson? I'm not sure. But anyway, you got him. You got Fitzpatrick. We know what Fitzpatrick is. He could bring you back and win a game. He could lose a game for you just on turnovers. He's been around for 17 years. Isn't he their best option right now, Byron?
Patrick make things happen. He's a fun guy. He's a leader, and they respect him highly. Even the other team respect him, and so he can make things happen on the football field. So maybe he just don't want to give away his starting card right now. A lot of coaches they keep things vanilla in preseason. And they don't talk as much as they need to about who they're going to be going with for the starting quarterback. But definitely, Patrick is the player that I think will ignite the Washington team. So I just feel like some people just want to announce their starting quarterback, and right now there's only limited teams that's doing that. But yeah, I can see that happening. But he's definitely their best shot of winning games for sure.
Yeah, I believe so too.
But isn't there a reason Fitzpatrick has been with so many NFL teams? I mean, people don't consider that. I mean, we were talking yesterday a little about Teddy Bridgewater, okay, starting for Denver. And I believe I labeled Teddy Bridgewater the next Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's on his fifth team, and he'll have success. You can win with them, but then they kind of fall back a little bit. And then you've probably experienced this, Byron, at some point. The locker room becomes split up. You don't want the team taking sides on who they want a quarterback, because something good doesn't come out of that. I mean, and I could see that happening from what I hear in New Orleans. Okay, I don't know whether Mac was going to get on that with Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston. Now the players seem to be rallying around Jameis Winston in the locker room. And how's that supposed to make Taysom Hill feel? The guys who have his back in a way. And I kind of don't like this split locker room mentality. I don't like the coaches stretching it out. I'm all for competition, but to a point. I mean, you've got to make your decision who's going to be your leader. Have you ever experienced that with the split locker room?
Well, not as much. Back then, I played for Coach Parcells. He mostly controlled everything, and we didn't have that type of situation. Only when Phil Simms, when I first got there, he had broken his thumb. And, so we had Jeff Rutledge and we had Scott Bruner and a couple of quarterbacks. And then, we ended up getting Jeff Hostetler. And so we never did have a conflict with we knew who the quarterback was back then. But I can see with the success they had with Tatum and in the past, when Drew Brees got hurt, I could see that some players probably say, well, he can make things happen. He make magic happen once he played, and which he did. He had that success. So, in those type situations, I don't think the locker room is too much split up. I just think that it gives the coaches options, and Sean Payton he know how to manage that. I think he will be able to manage the success of the team, because every now and then you need these players to come in and add more excitement to the game or whatever. But I know Tatum he's exciting. He make things happen. He run the ball as well as throw the ball. So you don't hardly see that in the NFL. So he brings a different dynamic, and I think that's really, really good for the Saints to continue to have that.
Yeah, I believe, Brian. I believe you're right. I think Winston's going to be the starter. But I think Tatum Hill plays everywhere. He plays on special teams, plays tight end, plays running back, plays everywhere. Can quarterback. He's an asset just being the way he is. I mean, I don't know if he's a starting quarterback per se, where he can step in there and throw for 300 yards. But he sure is exciting, and he sure adds a lot to the Saints in every way. I mean, like I said, special teams, anything. He'll do anything, and he does it well.
One of the exciting things about this game is that inside the red zone, in the red zone inside the 20, when you bring him in, defense is just defense don't know what you're gonna do. It's to give you more options. So I mean that they still have that package in their offense, and I think that's gonna give them a little bit more extra added, because it's about scoring touchdowns once you get inside the 20 versus kicking field goals. So Tatum bring that dynamics to the team, which I like, and I think that's still an option for the Saints.
I agree with that 100%. So during the preseason, we've been talking about the value of a preseason. I hold it a little bit higher than Jack and Pags, and I agree with them on a lot of what they're saying. I believe there's got to be some kind of winning culture established even in the preseason. I believe that a lot of coaches want to try out different strategies and different things, even if it's in joint practices, maybe in some games. And I think the players get a feel for the coaches, especially rebuilding. And
Absolutely.
Jaguars right now, Byron, there's starting to be complaints about Urban Meyer, the way he's coaching there right now. They're starting to trickle out right now. Now, Urban Meyer, a great college coach, one of the greatest of all time, really, if you look at his percentage of winning. You come into the pro football, it's big difference not only for the players, but for the coaches, right? I mean, there's a lot of great college coaches that came up there that just couldn't do it in the pros. It's a total different game. It's men trying to make money as opposed to boys wanting to, with the school rah-rah thing. That's gone. So what do you, if you had to talk to Urban Meyer, right? If you were able, with your experience, playing football, and you had to sit down one-on-one with Urban Meyer. What kind of advice would you give this man as far as coaching pros as opposed to the college kids?
Well, one of the things that I see that he's doing, he brought in Jimmy Johnson, okay, and Jimmy Johnson, he experienced the same thing coming from Miami to the Cowboys in 1988, right? So, yeah, I think he's doing the things right now that he looking back on history and say, well, this is what I need to do, and I think he want to bring certain players in that fit his trend of coaching and the things that he like to do on the football field. He got his own coaching staff, a different type of coaching staff, and I think that's really good. I think he might end up losing some games, but I think he's gonna be kind of like what the Giants did last year or the year before last, is almost be in every game, be competitive. I mean, right now, he got these young players in, and they're not quite ready for the speed of the game, and that's why they're making these adjustments right now. And that's why he playing around with certain personnel and things like that. And I think that'll be good. And this year gonna be a key year for him. And I think, getting in that and bringing in the talent that he like and that he want, might take a year or two to mold. They built him a brand new facility, so they done made a commitment to him. So right now, I think he got 3 or 4 years to make sure he looking at things that he want to bring into the equation for the Jaguars. And I think they're gonna be deciding. Right now they don't have a whole lot of big names, but I think they're gonna get there within a year or two.
Byron, if I were Urban Meyer, I would come down super hard on that team. Who the heck are they to complain? They're the worst team in football. Who's complaining about the coach? You're not talking about a fringe playoff contender. They're the worst team in football. Guys are lucky to have jobs there, a lot of them, and they're complaining. They have absolutely no right to complain about anything when you're the team that picks number 1 overall in the draft, because they were the worst team. So I think you forfeit your right to complain when you're that bad.
And absolutely, and he's gonna do it his way. It's gonna take 2 to 3 years, like I said. But I think too, the players ought to be honored to have a job and to make sure. But what he's trying to do, I think he got to bring in the mentality, because a lot of it is mental, and they got to get these players on the right mental page, right? So he got a certain style that he want to see there he can get established there in Jacksonville. And I agree with you. The player got to step and play, and they ought to be happy to have a job. But I can see him doing some of the similar things that Jimmy Johnson did with the Cowboys when they went 1-15. I can see that he's doing things that's unique, and I think he gonna flip the coin over there. He gonna have a different mindset of players on this team, and I look forward to seeing how they gonna play, because right now nobody know who the team ain't that. Yeah. We are known for the players, but I think they're going to develop some hard.
But let me tell you what gets me. Jacksonville arguably has the worst offensive line in football, and they had time to address this at the end of last year when they knew they were going to be able to draft Trevor Lawrence. You would think in the draft and free agency they would address this situation. So what do you do with Trevor Lawrence if they can't block for him? I mean, it's a major problem.
Well, you're gonna have to get the ball out of his hand pretty quick. So you're going to have plays that quick plays, and you're going to have to use that running back a little bit more. And so I think that's some of the things that they're gonna be concerned with. And
Travis Etienne is out for the season. He got injured, so that's a big blow. They're counting on him at running back.
Yeah, that's a big blow. Yeah, exactly right. So. But you still got players that's trying to make that team, and so you're gonna always have what we call Matt and I call the Victor Cruz effect. So I think too they're gonna be. This is the week they're looking for the Victor Cruz effect, and I think they're gonna be looking for certain players to come in and add some dynamic to the team. It's a long season. You're talking about 18 weeks, and you're gonna be in some games there. So I just think they just got to change the mentality of everything that's already been, I just think that they will be competitive. So I believe in Urban Meyer, first of all, and I think that he's gonna bring a lot to the game of football. And I think the NFL is always on the change. I mean, it's a constant change here and there. So I think Urban Meyer is gonna be on the cutting edge of bringing this some change.
Byron, let me piggyback what Jack said a little bit, right? They played against the Saints in preseason. They were knocking the hell out of Lawrence. I mean, they were hitting him. Even I'm surprised he didn't get a couple penalties. They were roughing him up. He was getting no protection at all. This could be a case where he does get hurt or his confidence gets blown away. There's a lot of great quarterbacks coming out of college, even number one draft choices that didn't make it. And my concern would be, and I agree with Jack. Listen, you're going to get Lawrence. This is going to be your number one pick. Why aren't you trying to build a free agent line around him, at least to keep? This doesn't have to be perfect, but at least some solid people in there that you could really, have him have a little bit more time, maybe gain a little bit more confidence. We saw what happened to Burrows last year, right? He was playing good, he gets injured. I mean, that I can see happen to Trevor Lawrence this year easily. So I do agree with Jack. I think the GM over there, if he knows he's getting Victor, he's going to get Trevor Lawrence. Man, go out there and get a few linemen or something, or a couple blocking tight ends, whatever you got to do to protect this man. I don't understand why they didn't make that moves. I think that was a bad move on the GM's part at the end of last year, Byron.
Yeah, no doubt. They got to have some protection. That's the key. No, I agree. I agree with that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get to the Giants for a little bit. Finally, Daniel Jones is going to play in a preseason game. He's supposed to, according to Judge, play the first half against the Patriots. I guess this is his warm-up for the regular season. What do you take from him if he does good? What do you take from him if he does bad, Byron?
Well, I just think just to get him back out there on the football field, get his timing down, game type situation, running some no huddles and things like that. I think that's what's important. And I think he's gonna be good. I think he's gonna be okay. He's getting reps every day in practice. So, but game situation is gonna be the key. And I think tonight, if he can play, a quarter and a half or such like that, I think he'll be okay. I think too is mainly his pocket presence and things like that he needs to work on, and hurry up offense. Red zone type deal. I think situational plays is going to be key, but I just think for a veteran, for a player that's been in the game at least 3 years, he's good to go. I
mean, I agree with you. 2-minute drill, stuff that they got to work on to get the timing down with the wide receivers and stuff like that. I don't think Saquon's playing. He was a little upset that they put him in a red shirt during practice because he said that's for quarterbacks, that's not for running backs. I love the mentality. He's happy to get back on the field. Also, Kyle Rudolph comes off the injured reserve list. He's ready to go right away. Do they play him or they let him sit for one more week till the regular season starts?
I think they play him a couple of series. I think he'll be good to go. And the good thing too, they was up there this week with the playing against practicing against the Patriots. So we practice against Atlanta, and that going against different players is a good, not against your own teammates sometimes, which is good. I think this was probably a good week for them to get some things, get some situational things ready to go, and look at some options of a couple of players as well. The players that's on the fence line that said, okay, this guy showed a little bit different drill things while we was up here this week up against the Patriots. So I think this was a good week for them to be, to analyze some things that they didn't see maybe a week or two ago.
I mean, I agree with you there. I believe that for the Giants to really have any kind of success, I was looking at their record prediction by Vegas. It was 6.5, which is very low. I really believe that if Saquon is playing, we will compete. We went over the numbers with Jones, with Saquon playing to keep the defense off the field, which has improved over last year. They had a great defensive line. It looks like their secondary is going to be better this year. If Saquon doesn't play, Byron, I mean, maybe a wild card, maybe not. I think Saquon's that important. Booker has looked good in preseason. I've watched almost all the preseason games, not just Giants, everybody. I think Saquon's the key. Booker's good, but he's not a Saquon Barkley. So keeping him healthy. If he gets hurt again this year, Byron, I don't know what they're going to do with Saquon. I really don't.
Yeah, no doubt. And I hope that the knee injuries and things like that, it still got so much better, and players have came back from those knee injuries now. And I hopefully, if he stay healthy, man, they're gonna be excited to watch. They what they average for 18, 19, 20 points. If they can get up to 26 points a game, and their defense play like they started playing at the end of the year last year, I think you're gonna be excited to watch them this year.
I definitely agree with that too.
Turn into another Todd Gurley. If he were healthy, he would have been one of the best backs in the NFL. That's your fear for Saquon Barkley. If he comes back healthy, is he still going to be the same weapon he was before? That's a question mark. Byron, you could talk about mental aspects. Is something in Saquon Barkley's head going to just pull him back a little bit, even though he's physically healthy, to fear getting hurt? Will he be like 90% of the player he was before, which is still outstanding? Just lose that little bit of an edge. Is that a danger?
Yeah, I think with it, I think he's still gonna think the same way. I just think if he don't try to do something extra, like going out of bounds and things like that, he'll be okay. Maybe he learned from that, but I think he's still gonna have the same mental perspective on going out and approaching the game, taking his hit, maybe protecting his body just a little bit more. But I think he's still gonna be the same guy, because once you got that, it's like a Lawrence Taylor. I mean, he gonna be full go once he get on that football field. And right now, he already saying, I don't want to wear a red jersey. I want to be myself. And so right now, you can see that he still had the same mental mentality of that he always have had. And I think it's just a matter of time. He just can't wait. And another thing too, he got a chance to see the game from a different perspective while he was injured last year, which give him a whole different mindset of really appreciating the game while he's healthy. So I think he's going to be okay, in my opinion.
Byron, I think it's important, they talk about load management in basketball. I think especially for this year that they don't give him the ball like they did when he was a rookie. I think they got to get Booker in there, give him rest, let him get out of the game, and use Booker as a second back and use him quite a bit. Booker can catch the ball and run the ball. He is a very, very good back. I think Barkley, as explosive as he is, I don't think he's going to stop. I think he's still going to try and jump over people. I think he's going to try and put those moves on people he always does, or run them over. I mean, it's built in. It's hard to change what you do. I mean, once you get out there on the field, you're going to do what you do. So I think it's really important that Booker gets a lot of carries, and that Barkley isn't like Zeke was used, carrying the ball 300 times, getting the ball 300 times a year. I think they've got to, especially this year, Byron. I think they got to kind of, give it to him slowly, bring him along slowly. By the end of the year, maybe he gets even more carries, and by next year, maybe if he's healthy and ready to go again, we can use him like we did. But I think they really got to watch him this year.
Yeah, I agree with that. No, but I'm impressed with Book as well, and I think that's really good. And it kind of reminds me of what they're doing here in Dallas with Pollard and Elliott. They giving some alternative, giving the main back some rest here and there, which would be good for him, because it's a long season, and you can't use your backup, and you got to be able to have two good backs like they have in Cleveland. Just look around the league that's having success. These teams are now start thinking about, we got to have two great quarterbacks, two good running backs, and that's the key to success, I think. So
it's not like the old days, Byron, when you just gave the ball to Joe Morris or you gave the ball to John Riggins 30 times a game, whatever it was, man. And they stayed healthy for some reason. I don't know what the hell's going on with all these.
Yeah, those guys, they run behind their pads, and they know how to hit those holes.
The
B gaps, and the C gaps. They knew how to. I guess run behind your pads, so to speak.
I guess so, man. I mean, I don't understand why there's so many injuries. I mean, Earl Campbell would run over 5 guys and run 80 yards. I mean, the guy was built like a guard, and and he didn't get he hardly got injured till the end of his career. I mean, I don't get what has changed.
Well, we have Derrick Henry. He's a modern day what those guys were.
Yeah,
There
and,
you
and you know, just like Barry Sanders. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, you had some guys that knew how to run that ball and cut and make those angles. It's just something that you got to have some instincts too. So, but yeah, it's gonna be fun to see if Barkley can do some good things. I think he'll be okay though. I really do. I'm excited for him. I think he done worked really hard to get back to where he was. I really believe that. I've been watching.
And you know, I was watching the Patriots last preseason against they're blitzing already. These guys ain't fooling around, man. This defense, Bill Belichick does not mess around. He's running everything. He don't care. I mean, this guy is something else. I mean, I respect that.
And you know what? This preseason game this week, that's where you're gonna see a lot of defense. I mean, it's a lot of blitz, it's some of everything, and because they have to put the full package in. That's what they have to do.
Now here's Carlos.
You know what it is? These coaches don't want to give all their plays away in case they have to use something, you know, in a regular season game that another team hasn't seen. Once you run the play, the opposition has a little bit of a book on you. So, you know, they always withhold stuff.
Absolutely.
Hey, Byron, Carlos, because we got to school Carlos every now and then. He says, back in the day, very few guys worked out 2 times a day. Would you tell him how many times that you guys worked out and how many times you guys hit a day back in the day?
Man, we worked out 3 times a day. It's an all day, Carlos. Man, we had full blown scrimmages and it's like game time back in the day. So it was a lot harder back in the day than these guys now. You
love
can't
Carlos.
These guys.
Yeah, I don't know.
My phone was ringing.
I don't know.
By the way, now Carlos, it's definitely it was harder back in the day.
Of course it was.
Now. The NFLPA have protected these guys. They got certain contacts. They got to take a day off. They got to go and do game day filming and. You know, just walk through practice. We didn't have none of that.
No, it's okay. Carlos loves the modern day player. He's right in some instances, but when it comes to
bring Carlos, we need to bring some footage and some games.
Yeah.
I wish we'd have had some tape of practice back in the day before you get.
There's some around. There's got to be some around. Byron.
Yeah.
So, Byron, I want to thank you for coming on. We're really excited about your new YouTube show with you and Jim Jeffcoat coming up 1 September, 8 p.m. Eastern, J&B Talking Shop. So, people, if you want to see this show, go out there, Northeast Streaming Sports YouTube channel, subscribe, and great guests, great talk from players that played at the highest level. And I can't wait to see that. So, Byron, thanks for coming again, as you always do. We love having you on. You all have a great day. And enjoy your Friday, my friend.
Hey, thank you very much. And we celebrated my grandson's birthday
last
week, and I taught him how to catch a little bit. He's not even thinking about being a snapper.
Okay. Throw the ball. Don't throw the ball too high in the air. We don't want deflections off his hands getting intercepted.
Yes.
Well, he definitely don't have butterfingers.
Hey, he's got it's hereditary, Byron. It's hereditary, right? And while you're at it, see if Diassi will come over and visit you real quick, and maybe you can teach him a little bit about long snapping. You never know, Byron. I mean,
that's right. I got his number in my phone too. I got Steve's number in my phone. So
yeah,
get in touch with him. So
yeah, have him come over and just teach him the art of long snapping. And I mean, it don't hurt. It doesn't hurt.
It'll keep him working longer.
Huh? What'd you say, Jack?
It'll keep him working longer. It'll keep him in the league longer as a long snapper.
Hey, that's why I love this show, because you got so much wisdom.
All right, Byron.
All right,
take care,
guys. You guys have a great weekend.
You too,
Byron. Take it easy.
So there you go. Byron Williams, former New York Giants star wide receiver, having his own show coming up September 1st. Northeast Streaming Sports YouTube channel, 8 p.m. Eastern, J&B Talking Shop, where him and Super Bowl champion, Hall of Famer, almost. He's getting there. He got nominated once. He will get in. Jim Jeffcoat will be on the show there with him too. So, folks, we're going to go ahead. We're going to take our first break. On the other side, we do have Keith Angle. We'll be talking about the Yankees, the Patriots. I mean, this guy, and even college football. I mean, a guy knows a lot about sports and especially about the local stuff. So we'll bring him in right after these commercials. Stick with us, folks.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol. If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
Really?
I promise, Grandma. I love you too.
Okay, how about tasting this stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
When you hear the word asthma, you probably think of shortness of breath, coughing, or inhalers. Lots of things can trigger asthma, but the fact is that asthma doesn't just attack, it can kill. But with proper medical management, asthma is controllable. If you experience shortness of breath, wheezing, tightness in your chest, or persistent nighttime coughing, you may have asthma. See your doctor and get the facts. You'll breathe easier. For more information, call 211 Info Line. A message from the Connecticut Department of Public Health, keeping Connecticut healthy.
If you talk and they will hear you every single time.
Oh, we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. Zero tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's a first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I've made it clear to Matt that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. You know, a lot of kids try it at this age, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's going to be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he going to know?
You think kids that age really listen?
They never admit it, Bill, but they hear more than you think.
Talk. They hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Try.
Good morning. You're listening to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show. We're on live Thursday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. We're also carried on Northeast Streaming Sports Facebook pages and the YouTube channel, also being seen live on Twitch right now. So, Jack, exciting show so far. I had the Philly in, we had the Giants in, and now we get the Patriots, Yankees, and a little bit of college football in, too, with our guest coming out of the chute here. Keith Angle from TGI Talking Sports. We just finished up his show, and he's good enough to come out with us every Friday. So let's bring up Keith.
Okay. Keith is coming on. I was going to lead in. He was very emotional talking college football on his show the other night. Wow. Keith had me backing off. I mean, he was intimidating.
Was he really? Keith
he was mad. He was
really
upset.
Yes. Well, we'll find out about what's going on with there too. I mean, Keith,
I got a little worked up.
I make it a point to watch part of your show, at least part of your show every Wednesday because I enjoy it so much. I didn't see you getting upset. What the heck happened over there?
Oh, I was at the end. I think I got talking about the realignment thing again, and it just is sticking in my craw. And I went out the whole show, and that didn't dive into it too much. But at the end, I kind of got on something, and I went on a little tear for 5 minutes or so. That's probably what Jack saw. Welcome back, by the way, Jack. Haven't seen you in a while. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. I'm feeling better. I still got a ways to go, but one day at a time. But I'm getting there, thankfully.
Good wishes. Best wishes to you. Get better soon.
Yeah, I missed him too. I hate to say it, but I did. I did miss him.
That's not what you were saying off the air, but we won't get into that.
Oh Lord! See, always trying to get me in trouble, Keith. So let's talk about the show a little bit. I mean, we got college football coming up, right? What is it? Tomorrow does it start?
Actually,
it's Tuesday.
I think on Saturday there's some games. There's a handful of games. The only ones really of note are Nebraska and Illinois. Again, kind of the bottom tier of the Big Ten these days. Hard to believe I'm saying that with Nebraska, but I am. And you got an interesting game with Hawaii at UCLA, I think. And then you got UConn at Fresno State. They're going to get killed, and not too much of San Jose State is playing, and they had a nice year last year too. It'll be interesting to see how they do in a more normal setting. So next week though, full slate of games, and there's games. I mean, a lot of games like on Thursday night, and I'm not sure how they figured out the schedule with it's Labor Day weekend. I get it, but I mean there must be 20 games on Thursday next week. A lot of games.
Yeah, I think if I read it right, anyway. I mean, you've got Thursday, September 4th. You were mentioning you have Alabama versus Miami. Anyway, that's going to be a big one. I think that's going to be worth watching.
Yeah. Well, you got the big game Saturday night's going to be Clemson in Georgia.
Very true.
That's going to tell a lot about. Here's the thing: both of those teams can afford to lose this game because it's the first game of the season. Another team who's at number 20 right now couldn't afford to lose this game, right? It's going to hurt them come playoff selection time. But either one of these teams could lose this game and still make their way back into that conversation because they're not going to fall far in the rankings. But the winner is going to be, have a good head start towards getting into that 14 playoff.
I agree. I agree with that. I even think if Miami loses against Alabama, as long as they keep it close, they'll still be alive at the end of the year.
Yeah, it's a tough start. I'm a Miami fan. My stepson did his undergrad there, and we became Hurricane fans. And they've had a lot of good seasons up until a certain point, and they've just gone off the rails recently. So, but they got some talent there, and Derek King's a 6-year senior, so they got if he stays healthy at quarterback. They've added. They got most of their defense back, and they got a couple transfers at wide receiver. I think they could actually, compete potentially in an ACC championship game with Clemson. It'd be interesting to see.
I mean, listen, college football to me is, I don't want to get into it either, but it has lost a little bit of drama with me because I know who already is going to be in the Final Four almost. So hopefully they get that changed up and
well. Out. The expansion is still on a table unless the SEC wrecks it with some of their moves, which so far it does appear to still be on track, and I doubt it'll be 5 years away either. I think it'll happen next year or two.
I believe that too. So let's turn the attention to the Yankees right now. 12-game winning streak. Their bats have been unbelievable. Gallo with a big home run last night. Pitching the pitcher kind of fell apart there. Hopefully he's not on our rotation week. If we do make it far enough in the playoffs, I never liked Thailand anyway.
He's had 2 great months leading. I mean, this is his first bad start in a long time.
Yeah. Well, there may be tales of things to come, Keith. I mean, you played a pretty good Oakland team. Oakland's
He's pitched well, Mac. I mean, you can't get down on him. He's pitched well.
It depends who he pitches against, Jack. I mean, if he's pitching against the Orioles and these other teams, he should.
Well, what does it matter? I mean, a win is a win. I mean, the games count all the same for the most part.
Yeah, but in the playoffs, you're playing the best of the best, Jack. That's all I'm worried about. I mean, I know he's an okay pitcher. I'm not saying he's a bad pitcher. I'm just saying when we get to the point when we are in the playoffs, I just hope he's not in the rotation. Just my opinion.
I still worry about the team overall. I've been very hard, as you have too, Mac, on this team all year, and I was last year. And I know early in the year, we had some debate back and forth with myself and Jack and yourself, and there's still some issues. Here's the thing. I don't think it's it's an aberration that this streak, during the middle of this streak, the Yankees started playing baseball differently, and they started playing. Guys got hurt. Guys were out on COVID. Gleyber Torres, who's still a great young talent, is not the shortstop. You've had Wade and Velasquez there, and they're just making the plays, the routine plays. That's all I want out of my shortstop on this team. That's all I need. And providing some timely hitting and some base running. And, there's just better situational baseball being played the last month. And I hope it continues, right? This isn't just because Gallo and Rizzo are there. Rizzo's contributed more to the defensive side and making that infield much more cohesive and sharp. And his leadership, I think, his leadership skills are off the charts. That's why he's got to play first base and not Voit, at least the majority of the time. But the Yankees come playoff time, I still worry. If I've got Torres at shortstop and I got these holes in Gallo's swing and holes in Stanton's swing, and Stanton's hot right now, but he's a
streak hitter. He's a streak hitter.
Yeah, this 12-game winning streak, and even before that, I mean, they've won, I don't know what they've won now, 26 out of 30 games or something like that. I mean, they've been on an amazing streak, and I just hope they don't peak too soon, number one. And I still think it's important that they catch the Rays, and they've only got 3 games left against the Rays at the end of the season. Could be big games.
Listen, when Urshela, Keith, he came off the injured list, it was obvious he was going to be starting at third base. Is it so obvious that shortstop is Gleyber Torres' position now? I mean, because I wouldn't start him there right now. If things are going well with Velasquez, I'd leave good enough alone.
If it was up to me, I would stick with Velasquez and Wade and the combination that they have. My guess is they'll work Torres back into the starting role, but I do think you're not going to see him play every single day, and you're going to see him on the bench in late innings for one of these guys. I personally would go the way you went, Jack. I may not put him back in the lineup until he earns his way back, because he wasn't lighting it up with the bat either, by the way, not just defense. So
right. We could talk all we want about the everyday lineup to starting pitching. The bottom line is Chapman has got to be his old self. I mean, that's the key. I mean, got the save yesterday. If he's the old Chapman, we're fine. If he's not, if he's shaky, there's going to be trouble.
I don't know about you guys, but I get worried every time I see him come out of that pen in the 9th inning. Something's going to happen. I didn't see the 9th inning last night. I was long asleep. But, I'll be honest with you. Loaizaga is a guy I might consider using more in those high leverage situations, because he's been a godsend for that bullpen. With Chapman struggles and Britton's struggles, Loaizaga's pitched really, really well. Now, as Chad Green shows, just because you can pitch well in relief, even in late innings, doesn't mean you can fill that 9th inning role. Not everybody can do it. Chad Green's been horrible at it, as good a pitcher as he's been over the years. And maybe Loaizaga's not built that way, but I might give him a few shots here before I get to the postseason to see what he can do in that 9th inning.
You talk about it's not just the left-handed hitters that we picked up. I kind of disagree with you a little bit, Keith, and this is why. I think it gives the manager a lot more options as far as, how the pitchers are going to pitch to the batters. If you didn't have Gallo or Rizzo in there right now, he could go right-handed. They go right-handed pitcher all day if they wanted to. They can't do that no more. And it gives you more option. It protects the hitters also. You can protect Judge. You can protect Sanchez. You can protect certain batters. And let's not forget, I'm I got a brain freeze. The second baseman that they picked up, but also a lefty-handed hitter. Odor, right. Yeah. I was going to say Judor, so I'm glad I didn't say it. But Odor also, who is the left-handed. Now we got 3 lefties in our lineup that can start, and they can come off the bench. I mean, it opens up the offense more. And,
Yeah.
you know, even Gallo got called for that bad strike 3, that one thing, and then he hit a 3-run homer the next time second time through the lineup, he hit that 3-run shot. But anyway, I think it opens up the whole offense, and defensively we got better. I'm not taking nothing away from the youngsters that stepped in. That you need that on a team. You need players that go step up and you know, all of a sudden our base running improves and all that. But we did need that left-handed hitting, and since we got it, what are we, 21-4?
Yeah,
There's
more
that-
than that. More than that.
So I mean, I think. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you. I don't mean to imply that doesn't have anything to do with it. Obviously, part of what we talked about before is they were 2 right-handed. They needed to have left-handed bats in Yankee Stadium and to balance the lineup in general. So, yes, they have contributed. I don't mean I don't want to diminish what they brought to the team, especially Rizzo. Rizzo's brought a lot. Gallo brings good defense. I'm surprised how good a defensive player he is. And you're right. They've made Judge and Stanton even better. Stanton's been on a roll since they got here. And interestingly enough, he's playing the outfield without getting hurt.
Yeah.
And his bat, I think there's something to the fact that, you know, he's playing in the field and it's helping him.
I agree.
You don't just sit there thinking about 4 bats all night long. I think, you know, that's a tough job, I think, being a DH like that. So I think it's helped him. And I got to give him credit for playing well over a pretty extended period of time right now. So
Listen, I agree with that. The more you're involved in the game, I think the more you're involved in the game, right? I mean, if you're sitting there talking with the players on the bench and whether you're concentrating on DH, I don't know how you do that, but if you're doing that, I mean, that's not really what the game's about, right? It's a total. You got to be out there playing. I feel it's better for him anyway.
yeah, I do too. But he's got to be able to stay healthy, and he's shown so far at least that he can. So, you know, let's hope this continues. Again, I still have my doubts come playoff time when you're facing a top-notch pitching every single day, and you're facing a team, you know, 6 or 7 times over the course of a week and a half. We'll see. I hope they're there. They got some reinforcements coming for the pitching if they can stay healthy. Kluber is going to be a nice addition to this rotation if he can get here and stay healthy. I mean, it doesn't do any good to come here and pitch 2 games and be back on the disabled list.
Agree.
But they've got some surprises there. You know, Nestor Cortez has just been Cortez has been just such a revelation for this team. He's fun. He's having fun out there. Looks like an 80s porn star. Don't ask me how I know that, but that mustache is
wow. I didn't expect that from you, Keith. I think you blushed when you said that, Keith.
I mean, Cortez, Peralta, we weren't counting on those guys in the beginning of the year.
No.
And look at the way they stepped up.
Or the young rookie. I mean, he's been pitching lights out. I mean,
look. Lewis Gill. I mean, I think he has a future. I think he's going to be an anchor on the Yankees starting staff for years to come. That's my feeling. I have a really good feel about him.
I like the kid. Yeah, I think he's shown some real moxie out there.
So, Keith, let's turn to NFL real quick. The Patriots aren't done yet. I mean, they picked up a defensive back. They got rid of one of your favorite running backs. Was it Michelle, right? Or am I saying it right?
Yeah, Sony Michel. I'm not really surprised at that move. You know, they didn't pick up his option for next year. I think it was telegraphing that there was something in the works. They've got a plethora of running backs right now. Sony's a good player. And he's got some talent. He's had some good years with the Patriots, and he was instrumental in the 2018 Super Bowl run, I think it was. But he can't stay on the field. Now, this is a good move for the Rams, too, because, you know, they lost Akers for the year, and Sony's got a chance, if he can stay healthy, to really kind of reestablish himself as, you know, one of the top runners in the NFL if he can stay healthy. So,
yeah, I mean, they picked up a defensive back from the Ravens.
Yeah,
I mean, they're very busy this year, and it looks like they're trying to put something together to make a run at the AFC East title. Which, you know, if I'm the Buffalo Bills, I'm watching all this. I mean, you know, last year the Patriots were inept on offense. There's no other way to describe it. Their defense and special teams kept them in a lot of games. But this year, I mean, even Cam looked good in that last preseason game. I mean, he even looked good.
Everything comes down to the quarterback play for this team, as it does for a lot of teams, right? I mean, they've made the improvements. on the interior lines. They got better on defense. They got better on the edge. They're better in the middle of the field, which is where they really dominated through their really good years, right? Both on offense and defense, with the tight end acquisitions and the wide receivers who can kind of stretch the field, and now that opens up the middle for these guys. Now the key becomes the quarterback and what happens. Mac Jones has got a little bit of a step up this week with Cam's little miscue of going off campus, and there's some controversy in the Boston area, the Foxborough area, whether the team's covering for him. There's rumors whether the team told him to go, and I can't believe the team told him to go, knowing the NFL protocol is now he's got to miss 5 days. I gotta believe the team's covering for him, and that he just went on his own.
Yeah.
And Belichick, interestingly enough, he gave his usual Belichick non-answers when asked about this whole situation. And at the end, when he was asked about naming a starting quarterback, up until 2 days ago, he said Cam's our starter. And he did not say that. He said, we don't have a time frame for that just yet. Yeah. And I think Mac Jones may have pulled ahead in this race this week, because Mac Jones has played really well himself, by the way. And the team loves him. They just, they love his leadership, his swagger, the way he carries himself and moves guys around on the field. He plays like a more veteran quarterback than what he is, obviously. But
big question, Keith. Cam has been a model citizen. The players love him. The coaching staff love him. But if he should not be named the starter for opening day, what's his reaction going to be as a backup? Okay, here, not being given a job, because I think Cam came back in part expecting he was going to be the starter.
Well, I don't disagree, but I don't think Cam had a lot of other options either. But and not to play on a team, be the starting quarterback potentially and win. He could have gone to Texans, I suppose, but and been a starter and lost 15 games, 16 games. His attitude, if these guys are right about Cam's attitude, then he'll be fine, and he will help Mac Jones grow as a starting quarterback, which he's done throughout training camp. He's really helped Mac Jones a lot. But again, you know what? If we're talking about Cam Newton, circa 6 years ago, then I'm saying, okay, I need Cam Newton to be playing. But he's not. He can't play anymore. He's a great guy, but he just can't play. I knew Carlos was here somewhere. I was waiting for those comments. But.
Well, listen, I happen to agree with Carlos.
Where till I get my Mac Jones jersey from him?
Listen, I happen to agree with Carlos. I think Cam starts, Keith. I think they're going to protect the kid a little bit. If Cam has a problem, I think Mac comes in. If Cam continues to play well, I think they keep him there. Maybe bring in Mac Jones at the end of the season. I mean, if you throw that rookie out there, you just put a first round, you spend a first round draft choice on him, right? If you put him out there and for some reason he either gets hurt or has a few bad games, then you go back to Cam Newton. That's not good for the kid. I think the smart move, and I think Belichick is very smart. I think you start with Cam. If Cam has problems, first couple of games, Mac Jones comes in. If he doesn't, even when Brady was there, Brady and he went in for Bledsoe. It's because Bledsoe got hurt. Even though Brady, even at the time, I think was a better quarterback. Bledsoe was a kind of getting hurt a lot and everything. I think they went with Bledsoe, and when he got hurt, they brought in Brady. And I think it's the same thing here. I think they're going to protect Mac Jones. Kansas City protected Mahomes. I think it's a smart move, in my opinion. I think Bill Belichick is very smart. Is don't shake the kid's confidence. Let him keep feeling good about himself. Don't get a shot at him getting injured in the first few games, and then maybe him coming out, Cam coming in. That's no good. I don't
think Bill Belichick thinks like that. I think he only thinks who gives me the best chance of winning this week.
I agree with that. And if it's Cam to start the season, you may be right. But he's not going to. This team, they didn't make all these moves to go 7-10 and let Mac Jones learn on the bench. They just didn't.
Oh, I agree with that too, Keith. I'm not saying you're going to let him. They're not going to play Mac Jones if Cam doesn't play well.
Yeah.
I just think what Jack said might be right. They had the best quarterback on the bench for a year in Kansas City, and let Alex Smith play because
Alex Smith was playing really high caliber football at that point.
I understand.
That was the plan, Mac, all along. Mahomes that was going to sit for the full year no matter what. That was Andy Reid's plan. They don't have that plan in New England
How
right
do you
now.
know that? How do you know that, Jack?
Well,
Because even Belichick is saying it's a competition. At no point did Andy Reid say it was a competition with Mahomes and Smith. He said Smith is the starter, Mahomes sits for the year. He made that clear all along.
Well, we'll see what happens.
And,
We'll
and don't forget, the Patriots kicked the tires on some veteran quarterbacks in the offseason, too. So Cam was not like, their fallback plan or their lead plan all along. They were in the Matthew Stafford conversation. And, and going back to Brady and Bledsoe, Brady probably never sees the field that year if Bledsoe doesn't get hurt. He just signed a long-term contract, and he was still a really good quarterback. He wasn't going to take that team to the Super Bowl like Brady did. But
No, I agree. I agree.
Still a viable
Listen,
NFL quarterback.
Listen, all I know is if they throw Mac Jones in there and he has a few bad games and have to put Cam Newton in there, that's going to hurt that kid for a while. I don't know. I think it's the best thing to do. You got a veteran there that played football for years, and I would start him at least the first game and see what he's got, man. I would do that.
Depending on if Cam does start, I mean, your logic makes sense. I'm not saying it doesn't. But I hope they don't do to Mac Jones what they did to Jason Stidham last year, or Garrett Stidham, Garrett Stidham, because every time they put him into a game, he had no chance to succeed. They'd be behind by 3 touchdowns, and their guys are just teeing off on him, and he had 0 chance to succeed, and they can't do that to Mac Jones, and I don't think Bill Belichick will. If he doesn't start him, I don't think he's going to bring him in to relieve Cam when they're down 3 touchdowns.
Hey, Keith, has Brian Hoyer gotten cut yet, or what's the situation? Do you know?
Well, if Brian Hoyer didn't get cut in June, it's not soon enough for me, but I got a feeling Hoyer will stay there because he's a good influence in the quarterback room. He's a good influence for Mac Jones. And again, if Cam doesn't start at some point, you may need a guy like Hoyer to kind of keep the balance there.
Oh my God!
Now, by none of that means I think he needs to. If he ever has to play, that's all shot.
Oh Lord, Keith. Last preseason game, Giants Pats. Supposedly, according to Judge, Daniel Jones going the whole first half. I mean, what are the Patriots going to do? You think they're going to match him for the first half? I know the Patriots and Giants have had a rivalry for years. It doesn't even matter if the game means nothing as they did it. Do you think they keep their starters in the first half too, and we have a good preseason game, or do you think Belichick says, "The heck with it, you guys put who you want in, we'll put who we want in"?
I think, and again, you can never tell with Bill Belichick what he's going to do, but my gut says you're going to see some Cam, some of Mac Jones in the first half, and then you'll see whoever, Hoyer or me in the second half. But I don't think he's going to give them anywhere near a full workload this week.
Yes.
By the way, if you pay any attention to their joint practices, Carlos, Mac Jones is miles ahead of Daniel Jones.
Oh my God! Here he goes. You know something, Keith?
Miles.
Yeah, miles and miles ahead of Daniel Jones.
Listen, I take stuff like this seriously, what I'm going to say. Joe Judge, okay, he's mentored by Bill Belichick to an extent because he was on his coaching staff. And I'm sure Joe Judge asked Bill Belichick, well, what do you think of Daniel Jones' potential? And very quietly, confidentially, Bill Belichick is telling him what they think of Daniel Jones, the defense they put on him. So Joe Judge, in part, is evaluating Daniel Jones' potential based on a conversation with Bill Belichick.
It's entirely possible. I would lean on my mentor for that type of. I mean, this is a make or break year for Daniel Jones. He's got to perform this year. The Giants have made a lot of moves to improve that team, both offensively and defensively. They got the makings of a really good defense, and they need their quarterback to play well. If he plays well, they'll compete in the NFCs for the title. That's going to the top 3 teams there. I think are going to be very close throughout the year. And sorry, Jamie, the Eagles are not one of those teams I'm thinking of.
Guys, I think the thing that's going to either make or break Daniel Jones this year is whether Saquon Barkley is healthy.
That's
and you could say what you want about Mac Jones. If you guys don't have a running game, or Cam Newton, Mac Jones and Cam Newton aren't going to perform well either. You got to have that running game. You've got to have something to keep the defense honest. If you don't, I don't care who you are, and I mean that. I mean, I don't care who you are, unless you're a Tom Brady or a Rodgers. And guess what? Rodgers has one of the best running games in the league. Brady had a great offensive line with run blocking last year. So, I mean, we put a lot of emphasis on the quarterbacks, and we should, because they're the leaders on the field. But if you don't have a running game, if you don't have a weapon coming out of that backfield, I don't care who you are. And that's what's going to affect Daniel Jones this year. Does he have a running game?
You're absolutely right. You do need that. And you don't just need it. I mean, it could be you don't even need it most of the game. You need it to close out victories, though. I can tell you that's what the Patriots did for years. They relied on Tom Brady and opened up that offense throughout the game. But come fourth quarters when they had a lead, you saw like Garrett Blunt, you saw whoever the guy was that year pounding the football that fourth quarter.
Yeah, it was the same thing with the Giants in the Super Bowl years, right? Yeah. You had Jacobs and you had you had Bradshaw. I mean, they could control the game at the end, beginning and at the end, and made Eli a lot better. When they left, Eli didn't look so good. So I mean, you need that backfield guy that can keep them linebackers and safeties honest. And
I think Mac Jones can be the starter for the Patriots as their running game right now. And again, I realize it's preseason, I realize it's training camp, but they've gotten great performances out of the rookie from Oklahoma, Stevenson. J.J. Taylor is a weapon back there. You know what James White can do out of the backfield. We haven't even talked about last year's starter, Harris, who really looks good as well. So they got some weapons, and they got safety valves for a young guy like Mac Jones to play like Tom Brady played in 2000. Remember, Tom Brady wasn't Tom Brady in 2000 and 2001. He was just managing a game. And that's what the Patriots need right now, I think, is a game manager. And we'll see.
And we'll see. We'll definitely see. All right, Keith, thanks for coming over. I hope you have a great Friday. Great show on Wednesday. Go over to TGI Sports Talk with Keith Engel. He does a great job over there. Has great guests, great information, does a great vlog once a week at least over there. And, that football, the college football huddle is a great show, folks. So go over there and
talk about Cam and Mac Jones on the vlog today. So
no way. There's no way you're gonna do. You mean you're not talking about Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones on your vlog?
No. Maybe next week.
All right, Keith. Thanks for coming over. We love having you. Have a great day.
Good seeing you, Jack. Bye.
So there you go, Keith Engel with his outlook and insight in football, college football, Yankees, and the Patriots. Jack, always love having him come on. Yes,
good stuff, and we're coming down to the wire. I mean, for all the New England talk, who's going to start? Cam Mac Jones. I mean, we're going to know soon.
Yes,
and the Yankees, as they go further in the season, we're getting the answers more and more.
Yeah, we definitely are, and hopefully we have a good college football season too, because I do enjoy watching some good college football. Hopefully that happens, folks. We'll be right back after these messages. Stick with us. Me and Jack are going to talk a little bit more about sports in our last segment here. Let me see if I can find my thing. I can. Let's see. Yes, I can. There you are. We'll be right back after these messages, folks.
When you hear the word asthma, you probably think of shortness of breath, coughing, or inhalers. Lots of things can trigger asthma, but the fact is that asthma doesn't just attack, it can kill. But with proper medical management, asthma is controllable. If you experience shortness of breath, wheezing, tightness in your chest, or persistent nighttime coughing, you may have asthma. See your doctor and get the facts. You'll breathe easier. For more information, call 211 Infoline. A message from the Connecticut Department of Public Health, keeping Connecticut healthy.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye-bye.
Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, have a seat for a second. Remind me about that party again.
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
If you talk and they will hear you every single time.
Oh, we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. Zero tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's a first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I've made it clear to Matt, that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. You know, a lot of kids try it at this age, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's gonna be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he gonna know?
You think kids that age really listen?
They never admit it, Bill, but they hear more than you think.
Talk. They hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Try.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready. I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, get any.
Good morning and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on live 8 to 10 o'clock, Thursday through Sunday. Of course, tomorrow our format has changed, folks. So let me explain a little bit what's going to happen tomorrow, so Jack knows too. Tomorrow we're going to have Dr. Paul Semendinger, as we always do. He's an MLB expert, but mainly in the New York Yankees spectrum. He has a blog called Start Spreading the News. Very knowledgeable as it comes to Yankees. Him and Dr. E.J. Fagan are going to be having a YouTube special called Start Spreading the News. We're working on that right now. They'll be up 30 August, Jack, at 9 p.m. Eastern, where they'll be talking all Yankees on YouTube also. So besides Byron's show, Byron and Jim Jeffcoat's show, JMB Talking Shop, we also have Start Spreading the News with Dr. Paul and Dr. Fagan, who will be on starting 30 August, where they'll be talking all about the Yankees and just in time. I mean, for this playoff race, end of the year, I mean, this is going to be exciting, Jack.
Oh, yeah, good stuff. I mean, especially at this time of the year. I mean, with the Yankees rolling, to hear about, everything going on. You can't get enough Yankee talk. Now, I kind of feel bad about the Mets. We're kind of leaving them out there, sliding backwards, and kind of feel a little bad, in that sense. But it's an exciting part of the year in the sense that the baseball season, we're getting into the nitty-gritty part of it, and the NFL season, is about to begin as well. So there's like a real buzz, in the air with sports.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And folks, in case you haven't heard, Jack Hirsch and Frank Lazaro will be doing a boxing special.
Laterzo, not an easy name because it's a little bit of a tongue twister.
I just like calling
it. You got to practice it. You got to know all these names, Mac. is you as a host and being in charge of all these shows on the network, you got to absorb so much information. I just got to absorb a little bit. You're like a quarterback having to absorb all this info. And I'm like, what, like an offensive lineman? I mean, I have to absorb a lot, but not as much.
Yes. And I just call him Big Frank. That makes it easy for me.
Big Frank. I don't know whether they like that. You better be careful. Yeah, check in with him first, man.
Yeah, well, listen. I mean, whether he likes it or not, I mean, is beside the point. It makes it easy for me to remember, so at least I don't mess that up. But him and Jack will be doing Gloved Fist. Now, this show is going to be exciting, folks, because you have two writers, authors, guys that actually boxed early on. Jack with Golden Gloves. Frank was a professional boxer, a middleweight. So you're going to get the inside scoop on a lot of boxing information, stories, updates, people they know in the business that they've interviewed, that they've talked to, champions. I mean, Jack has presented awards to the biggest champions in the world and knows people in promotions. Frank has been writing and has done his own radio show on boxing on ESPN. So these two powerhouses are going to get together, and probably the second week in September we're shooting for. They're going to have their own YouTube special too. So it's very exciting what's happening over on the YouTube side of Northeast Streaming Sports. So folks, I mean, if you want to hear some really good specific shows that are going to cover certain areas, and boxing, I don't care what anybody says. You can be any fan of any team. Boxing, all these fans, if you love sports, you love boxing. There's nothing like two guys trying to impose their will on the other person, one person against another, to win in the ring. And there's no other sport like it in the world, except for maybe, I guess you could say MMA and wrestling. But
and I got to tell you, Mac, if you're talking history of a sport, okay, history of a sport, the two richest traditions, in no particular order, are boxing and baseball. Right. I mean, if you talk the history of the NBA, it doesn't compare to the history of boxing. The NFL doesn't compare to the history of boxing. Baseball, you can make a nice comparison, but those are the two historical sports. If you talk about the old timers, things that happened, and Frank and myself are going to touch upon that. We're going to have a combination of old school and new school, because you'd be surprised about the number of young fans who like to hear about old school stuff, you know, about the old school fighters, and they want to draw a comparison. They really want to get that knowledge, and Frank and myself are going to talk about a lot of thought-provoking issues.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. We do our own boxing thing here on Thursdays, which is fun for me. But I can't compare, even though I love boxing, I can't compare to these guys. These guys know everybody in the business, and they'll be able to talk about everybody in the business and maybe have everybody in the business on their show at one time or another, and actually talk to them one-on-one and let the boxing fans know it. And who really isn't a boxing fan, Jack? Honestly, I mean, the skill it takes to not grab somebody or kick somebody and just defend yourself with your fists is quite a skill set. And people who have tried it, as myself, as I've gotten and tried to spar once, which was funny as heck, I lasted a round, I think. They don't know how long 3 minutes is in a ring and how short a minute is in between the ring. You just feel like you sat down and you're up already again. And that 3 minutes is exhausting. And to do that for 10 rounds is unbelievable.
It's amazing. Like, you take an old timer like John L. Sullivan. He beat a fighter named Jay Kilran in 89 rounds. Okay. But in those days, you could take that bare knuckle stuff. You could take a guy and throw him down, and then the round would end. But just the idea, like when the great Jack Johnson lost the World Heavyweight Championship in Cuba to Jess Willett, he got knocked out in the 26th round, but it was scheduled for 45 rounds, 45 3-minute rounds. Can you imagine that? Fights today are 12 3-minute rounds. And those old timers, I mean, they were phenomenal. The distances they would go, it was unbelievable.
It was. And you know, the more I spend time with you, looking at the old-time fighters, I mean, my favorite, or I thought the greatest heavyweight of all time, in my opinion, at one time, was Joe Louis. And he's up there. There's no doubt about it. But when I started watching Jack Dempsey, changed my mind. My opinion now, Jack Dempsey is the greatest heavyweight of all time.
Well, you
Maybe-
know what they used to talk, Mac? You don't hear about it anymore because when years go by, people pass on and new generations come onto the scene. That's just the way it is. But for decades, I would hear the big fight would be who would win between Jack Dempsey and Joe Louis, okay? That would be the iconic fight. Now we hear who would win between Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson at their best. I mean, Ali, of course, would win that, but but that shouldn't be. Well, you disagree mildly, but Tyson says Ali would win that. But the point is, there's certain fights that people talk about over and over. Who would beat who? You know what my answer is to that, Mac? Think of all the fights we predict incorrectly that take place today.
Yeah.
So if you talk about all these hypothetical fights, some we would get right, some we would get wrong. You know, it's just, it's hit and miss to a large extent. I think they had a thing in Ring Magazine, a dream fight. Who would have won between Jack Dempsey and Rocky Marciano? They had the whole setting, and Dempsey knocked him out in the second round. And Marciano supporters are going to complain, that's crazy, The Rock would have done this and that. But Marciano was a very slow starter. Dempsey was a very quick starter. So I'm not saying it would have happened. I'm just saying it makes sense. I could see that type of outcome. You mentioned Joe Louis before. If anyone Googles fights and they think that Joe Louis was a slow, shuffling fighter, please Google Joe Louis's fight against Max Baer. You see him dancing around the ring, nimble on his feet, throwing fast, direct punches, hand speed like you've never seen before, quicker than Ali. Hand speed, direct. He was like a perfect fighting machine that night. Joe Louis against Max Baer. Google that fight.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm excited for that show too because you know how much I love boxing, Jack. So there we go. 3 big YouTube specials coming up once a week, an hour a show. We don't want to spoil you with too much information at once. We want you to look forward to it. Sort of like the NFL games, right? Where you got to wait that 1 week before that team plays. So that's what we're doing on the YouTube side of Northeast Streaming Sports. So Jack, let's just take a look at the MLB. Of course, to me, this is the biggest sport right now. I mean, I know I got the NFL coming up, and that's the most popular sport in the world. But right now, at this time, we've got some really good races going on in both the American League and the National League, right? We've talked about the Yankees, their 12-game winning streak. The Rays are still winning at an unbelievable pace. I think they're like 9-2 in their last 11 games. Yankees are like 11. They were 11. Now they're 12-0. But they're moving up on the Rays because they're just winning every game, and it's very hard to do. I don't know how long this is going to last. But the Rays are still winning at an unbelievable.
They're playing as well as the Yankees. Yes. People don't realize, okay, if the Rays keep it up and the Yankees and the Yankees don't win the division, they're wild card. No matter how well the Yankees play, the Yankees are in trouble making the playoffs as a wild card. Any team is. It's a one and done type situation. Anyone can beat anyone else for one game. Heck, the Baltimore Orioles could conceivably beat the Yankees if it's just one game. I mean, too many things could go wrong over the course of one game. Listen, I remember the season the Seattle Mariners won 116 games in the year 2001. They were near invincible. Fortunately, they had a 5-game playoff. Because game number 1 of the playoffs, the Mariners are rolling, by far the best team in baseball, and they lose the opening game to a so-so Cleveland Indian team in the playoffs. And then they're down 2-1, best of 5, and they manage to eke it out. But it just shows the dangers. And also we know, Mac, in sports, there's a certain momentum. When you're playing really well for a while, you hit a bump. And the problem is if you hit the bump at the wrong time, it's devastating. Like with the Yankees in the playoffs, I think Doc the other day was talking about Aaron Small. He was 10-0 during the regular season. He goes in the playoffs, he just hits a bump. It goes bad. And that's the danger, with the Yankees. Win the division because you give yourself breathing room. meaning you can lose your first game in the playoffs and still bounce back.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look at the Red Sox now, everyone in that division has 73 games they've won or more, Jack. The Red Sox right now, I mean, they're sitting in that second wild card spot. Sales has just come back and pitched masterfully, and the offense has just kicked it in. Don't count the Red Sox out, Jack. They were in first place almost the first half of the year. If they can get it going again, they got just as good a shot as anybody to win that first wild card game.
And if they have Chris Sale on the mound for one and done playoff game, I mean, they're a dangerous team. I mean, you want to set yourself up like it's the end of the year. And obviously, if you have a chance to win the division, you have to go all out. But it'll be interesting the last weekend of the season if the Yankees are one game behind and they could pitch Garrett Cole and they have a tie break or whatever. Do you go with them? Do you save them for the one-game playoff? I mean, decisions are to be made. They don't have to be made now. They don't have to be analyzed now. But that one-game playoff, the whole idea is you want your ace going. Okay, you want to kind of like maneuver it, that way. And the Red Sox, like you say, they're going to be a danger, especially if they throw Chris Sale out there in the one-game playoff.
I mean, if you look at it right now, Jack, if it was to end today, you would have the Rays winning the East, Chicago winning the Central, and Carlos put up a good point. Yanks might have to play Chicago first for that one-game playoff. And you got the Astros at 75 and 52 right now. The A's are around 70 wins. So right now, the playoffs will be the Rays, the White Sox, the Astros, the Yankees, and the Red Sox. And I think the third wild card team would be the A's.
I think Carlos is wrong. I don't think the Yankees would play the White Sox. The two wild card teams would face one another. And one gets eliminated. And then now you have the 4 teams left. And then you go to the expanded game format. Okay, so they wouldn't be playing the White Sox. If the season ended now, the Yankees would be playing the Red Sox in the one game.
Isn't there 3 wild card teams this year?
The way it was explained, I thought they cut it back down to 2.
I'm not sure if it's 3.
Yeah.
If it is 3, let's say it is 3, it would be the Red Sox versus the A's for that last wild card spot. The Yankees would play the best record, wouldn't they? They would play the Rays.
No, the division winner, a division winner wouldn't be in a one and done spot.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if there is 3 teams, so then it would be the least. So then,
there are 2 teams in there, Mac. I don't think it's 3 teams. That was last year.
Well, I'm saying if there is 3, if there's only 2, then it would be the Yankees and Red Sox. If it is 3, then Carlos would be right. The Yankees would have to play Chicago with the worst record among the leaders right now, if there is 3. So,
but a division winner's not going to be put in a one and done situation. That's not going to be the case because if that were the case now, they would be, there would be a race going on for that spot. There'd be talk about it, and there's none at all.
Okay, so if it is 2, if you're correct, and it is 2.
Yeah, the 2. Yeah,
it would be Sox. It would be the Yankees and the Red Sox right now. Would be the two wild card teams.
Correct.
So, I mean, right now, the Red Sox are in it. The Yanks would be in it, and of course the Rays, Chicago, and the Astros. The A's are going through a terrible time right now. I think they've lost. They fell off pretty much, but that's okay. So in the National League right now, Jack, you got the Braves at 68 and 58, the Brewers at 78 and 50, and of course the Giants right now, I think they have 83 wins. Then in the wild cards right now, you would have the Dodgers and the Reds. So even though I think the Dodgers are a lot better than of course the Braves, and I think the Reds might even be better than the Braves. I'm not sure, but if you look at it, that would be your teams right now. So you would have the Giants and Dodgers both have over 80 wins, and you got the Brewers at 78 wins, and the Braves at 68 wins right now, Jack. So the Reds and the Reds and the Dodgers will be your wild card teams if it ended right now.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you, it's hard to envision the Dodgers as a wild card team in a one and done situation. I mean, the Dodgers having a very good year. They really are. The Giants have been phenomenal. I mean, everyone there seems to be having a career year. Everything is going right in their games. I mean, you could witness it the last couple of nights against the Mets. They have this uncanny ability to win these close games, and you wonder when it's going to end. You just kind of wonder. But I just don't see the Giants, going through the playoffs like this. And we'll see if the Dodgers could catch them at the wire, because it's a danger thing for the Dodgers. If you have an expanded playoff, the Dodgers, it comes down to the Dodgers and the Braves, in the National League to me. I'm sticking with my pick with Atlanta to go to the World Series, but that's before they suffered the injuries they had, especially the devastating one to Ronald Acuna. But they have a next man up mentality over there. But, interesting, really interesting that NL West San Diego really, who was a pick of a lot of people to go to the World Series, they've really fallen off.
Well, Carlos,
what's wrong in San Diego?
Carlos just brought out Dodgers just fired pitching coach. That was San Diego. I don't think the Dodgers.
That was San Diego.
Yeah. That's what when you brought that up, I think that's who they. Yeah, San Diego.
Larry Rothschild, who was the former Yankee pitching coach, ironically, and the pitchers weren't performing, but you're talking about late August. Is it really going to improve you? I don't know. Unless there wasn't a connect with the manager and the pitching coach. The staff really needs to be on the same page.
Don't they have injuries on their pitching staff too, Jack? I thought that's what I read.
Everyone has injuries, yeah. Mac, everyone has injuries. It's touch and go. Every team you look at, what they've suffered, during the regular season.
So I'm going to give you the opportunity right here, Jack, to change your World Series picks. All right, you had the Braves in Chicago winning the World Series. I
had Atlanta beating the White Sox.
Oh, you had Atlanta beating the White Sox. Do you want to change that right now? I'll let you.
I never change my picks during the year because I always have faith. A team I pick, I'm a believer in it for the long haul. They're going to bounce back. Atlanta was so frustrating this year. Few games behind the Mets all season, hovering a game under 500 a good part of the season. But I had a certain faith they would go on a little bit of a surge during the year, which they've done in the rest of the NL East. The Mets, Phillies have been awful. The Mets have fallen off completely. The Mets and the Angels have been the real two major disappointments. Not that I expected the Angels to go to the playoffs, but I'm sick of the Angels year after year, the same thing. I know Mike Trout is out, but we get the same story every year, with the Angels, mediocrity. But if I had to change my pick, if I really had to change the pick and any two teams, the picks would be I probably wouldn't change from the White Sox, but the Dodgers are the nice conservative pick to feel, they're going back to the World Series. They'll beat the White Sox and win it. I'm not making that move, but that would be my thinking if I had to change my pick.
Yeah, my two picks were the Brewers and the Astros. They're both still alive too, Jack. And I'm sticking with Milwaukee. And I'm sticking with the Astros.
A nice dark horse, the Brewers. A nice dark horse.
Yes.
Especially with Giannis as a minority owner. Let's see if some of him wears off on him. I like Giannis a lot. It's great to see an athlete embrace his city the way he's embraced Milwaukee. He just loves it. You kind of wonder, Giannis will be good when he's in the corporate box with the other owners and VIPs before a game. They'll all like to huddle around them. But, Giannis will probably give a little advice in a fun way. And, they love Giannis in Milwaukee.
There's Carlos's pick. He's with you with the White Sox and with me with the Astros. He split the difference, Jack. I think that's cheating. I'm not sure, but I think that is.
No, not at all. The Astros, I don't know about. I just don't know about. They've kind of been sitting quietly in first place all year long, which I think the way they like it, because people aren't talking about the sign stealing and so on. And listen, if they go to the World Series, the Astros again, then we're going to hear all the noise with the sign stealing. There has to come to a point, Mac, where we have to stop talking about it because players are changing teams. Imagine the Astros have a whole bunch of new players on their team, and they have to hear about what cheaters they are, and they had nothing to do with anything.
I agree, Jack. Well, folks, thank you for tuning in. We're coming to the end of the show. Tomorrow, we'll have it. Dr. Paul will be in the first half hour. He'll be there the whole show, but he'll be in with us right away. We have Brett Kell, who is a baseball expert. We'll be in. We'll be talking more about the new league we're forming to challenge Major League Baseball. Of course, Jack will be here. The second hour, me and Jack will do our debate. I don't think we even discussed topics yet. So if you get a shot, Jack, throw a few topics my way, and we'll discuss them and probably go with what you want because it's late. So just think of a few good topics, and we'll have some fun with that tomorrow. So, folks, join us tomorrow, 8 to 10 a.m. on the Mac and Jack Debate Show. Thank you for joining us today. Thanks for all the comments, Carlos. Great job on your comments today, as always. And we'll see you tomorrow, folks. Have a great Friday night.